Well, Matt, I'm just always impressed with the various jobs you managed to get over the years.
Thank you.
You managed to get appointed to the board for Ashes of Creation, which I think is
Yes.
very
Yep.
prestigious. A lot of people are looking forward to that game.
Well, do I have some news?
Yeah. I'm not sure what your unethical things that you were doing that forced the game lead to quit, but he seemed to be very upset with the board, this mythical
Mysterious
board that
Yes,
may
yes,
or
yes,
may
yes.
not exist. But yeah, you managed to shut down a 9-year in development game that had been funded with over $3 million of crowdfunding. How do you feel about yourself? You know?
Honestly, terrible.
Yeah.
But also, slightly relieved. I don't know how I feel because I'm not actually the board of this mysterious company that probably doesn't exist.
Yeah. This was some pretty big news because for anyone following the game Ashes of Creation, it was trying to sort of relive the glory days of classic MMO like EverQuest.
And do some pretty incredible things along the way. Like he was trying to do some really cool stuff.
Not just relive, but evolve it, right? Take the old school concept that so many gamers loved and grew up playing and sunk way too many hours into, let's be honest, and evolve it with like worlds that adapt to what people are doing in them, instead of being these static worlds where you can always do the exact same thing everywhere. It would like evolve and change. And you're like, whoa, these are cool concepts. And it wasn't just a pipe dream. You could buy into the alpha version of the game and actually play in
for a lot of money, by the way.
For a ton of money. There's a lot of similarities here with Star Citizen in some regards. I hate to say it, but
I'm glad you're the one that's bringing it up, not me. But continue.
I mean, it's a massive funded game with a long development cycle. What happened recently, and people were starting to get a little nervous because they started selling game packages for getting into Ashes of Creation just to play the game that were like $250 and stuff. And people were like, this is a little high.
Steep.
Yeah. What do you guys think you are? Escape from Tarkov? This is ridiculous. And so people were getting a little scared. Then they announced that they're going to release the game into early access on Steam. And it was not on Steam for very long. And they recently announced that basically the lead quit. And then I guess all the other executives quit. And then everybody else wasn't able to get paid on the team. So like the whole team just vaporized like overnight. And I've seen some talk about it. It seems to come in. This happened like right after some of the Steam payments came in or something like that and other things. And they said they couldn't pay creators and it all just looks really shady. And even further digging shows some not great history with some of the people in charge of the project and some of the finance people also who were under investigation previously for fraud and other things like that. Yeah. So as people start to dig a little deeper, things are not looking good. First of all, I want to say this really sucks for all the devs who have been working on this game.
And for the people who, put their money into it and were excited for it and were championing this game for almost a decade.
It sucks
to have
for
it just close.
Everybody, basically.
Yeah.
And especially since it was a cool looking game. It looked like it was doing a lot of neat stuff. And it's like, it sucks because this was like in the era, I think they crowdfunded this back in 2016, 2017, something like that.
Long time ago, yeah.
Where crowdfunding games didn't quite have the vibe that it does today, where most people seem highly skeptical of crowdfunded projects.
As they should, especially games.
Yes.
Crowdfunding for like a book, I do that all the time. And, haven't gotten burned so far. But a game?
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's hard because games are just notoriously difficult projects. And especially the ones that get the crowdfunding money are the ones that are crazy ambitious, right? You don't just pay for like some basic super attainable card game. You pay for the best card game that's ever been conceived. And you're like, oh yeah, 50 grand will be enough for that game to hit its goal. No, I think that's part of the problem with crowdfunding is you only crowdfund the really ridiculous projects. And then the odds of those projects making it across the finish line are slim to none. So
Yeah.
They did work on a game for 9 years. Some people are saying it's like a scam from the top down, like from the start. I have a hard time believing that, because who runs a 9-year scam that also builds a game? Yeah, maybe, but I think they probably just ran into a situation where they realized, like, oh no, we're about to run out of money. And
I mean, there are some red flags, because apparently I haven't done a lot of digging on this, but to my understanding, the Kickstarter had a stipulation that all money would be returned if the game was not released or put onto Steam. And look at that. It came out on Steam about 50 days ago. So now they're supposedly covered.
I think
to not have to give those.
I think the language was if the game doesn't launch or something like that.
Okay.
Which is super vague, right?
That's very vague. Yeah. So it's like, did it launch on Steam? Does that count does that classify as a launch? Is that a loophole that maybe people can get their money back?
I wonder if that language was intentionally chosen, because, like, for such an important clause, you better figure out the legality and the legalese of what you just wrote, right?
Right.
All money back if, you better make sure you figure out what if means, because if you messed up if, you could be screwed.
The thing is, though, is that Kickstarter is very upfront when I don't know what it was like 9 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it like says, this is not a store. This is something you are backing a dream, and it doesn't mean that it will come to fruition and you might be out of money.
Yep.
And so that also probably covers their ass in terms of having to give the money back, because there probably isn't any money back to give right now.
Yeah. Especially if the top people, the board that somehow exists, even though the main guy said that there'd be no board. That was like one of the appeals of the project, is that there was no corporate oversight, and that it was just a passionate gamer making a game with no whatever. And then he's like, the board is being unethical, therefore I must resign. And you're like, this is the most vague statement of all time. You're leaving a 9-year-long project that was your baby with some super vague answer and just disappearing, and then saying you can't pay devs, but also you can't pay devs like days after the Steam payment allegedly would have come in for the game. Like, it's all just sort of, maybe it was all just fizzling out. They realized the game was going to need 5 more years, and the funding was drying up or whatever, and they just decided to cut and run with as much as they possibly could. It just sucks, because a lot of people believed in the game and were excited for it, and I sort of want there to be a fun MMO, an alternative to World of Warcraft that people can jump into and play. And WoW's great, but it doesn't do everything.
There is Final Fantasy 14. There are other MMOs out there, but it does feel like the genre is definitely dying, especially in the West. There's some like Eastern MMOs that are doing okay, but they're still kind of taking up the torch, I would say. But Western devs, when it comes to MMOs, is definitely a dying breed for sure. Yeah.
Also, some of the Eastern MMOs that are big they're very stylized in a way. And I think, like, if you're looking for the classic fantasy style MMOs, I think that's what people were kind of excited.
Well, not only that,
one.
but their gameplay loop is usually a lot different, and they're very grindy. They're unacceptably grindy by Western standards a lot of the time. So they have to do not only localization, but they have to even just change like their entire monetization policy, because it's a very different vibe over there, apparently.
It's true. It's always interesting seeing games that do really well in like Eastern markets. They do so well, and they're like, yeah, we're going to try this in Western markets. And then people are like, this game is terrible. It's so aggressively monetized and like all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, we just accept that over there. And it is interesting to see how those games often don't translate well across markets. But a lot of people were excited about Ashes of Creation. It gave me a lot of classic EverQuest vibes, or Dark Age of Camelot, or whatever classic MMO you played. This seemed
Dark
like
Age
it was
Camelot.
I know you're a Dayak fan. So it sucks. It's kind of scary, because there was a lot of time and a lot of money wrapped up in this, and it all quite literally vaporized overnight. Like, the devs, I think, all found out that they were not getting paid, like, without any like official warning or something. It was just a disaster. And of course, all the articles, I brought up Star Citizen because most of the articles I read were drawing parallels between this and Star Citizen. And
I can kind of see it, but at the same time, unless they do a random rug pull and the final product for the single player is just atrocious for Squadron 42, is just like a mess, and it's not really a game, and they're just like, this obviously, but they have been showing their progress, and there has been noticeable, production, and so
the main parallel is that they're both high budget crowdfunded games, but one's budget is like over 100 times the amount of the other one.
Yeah,
which is insane. Did you know Star Citizen's approaching $1 billion, Matt?
I'm aware. No, I'm aware.
I think they're at like 930 something million dollars.
That's absolutely insane.
They might actually hit $1 billion before Squadron 42 launches, which allegedly is still on track for this year. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Allegedly. Yeah, you got to say it because they've missed too many release. I don't have enough fingers
they missed their
to count
2014 launch. So I think it's fair to say.
They missed that one by quite a bit, Matt.
A little bit of a window on those, 2014, 2026, basically the same thing.
Yeah. Troy in chat says it'll release when it hits 2 billion in funding, which
oh god.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, this Ashes of Creation situation really sucks. It was one of those, a lot of people were excited for it. There was a lot of money behind it, a lot of time and dev time into it. It was a real game. Like they were making an actual game. People could play it and test it. It wasn't just JPEGs or something where they're like, check out this game we're making. But yeah, so you could buy into it and actually play it early. I hope that there's some sort of future for this, where like they could sell off what they were working on. They could pull a Hightail,
I don't think they're going to be able to haul a Hightail for a big MMO at this scale. I think there's just too much baggage and it's just too expensive. I mean, there would have to be a pretty big company to come in to purchase it and keep things running. And I just would be very surprised if that was the case.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost never happens. In fact, Hightail's like a wild case of like them taking a canceled project and be like, we're just going to early access it and all of a sudden make a ton of money and have a future for the game. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think too many people are going to be hightailing it these days, but although these devs did hightail it out of there, the executives, right?
Not on their own on accord though, because it sounds like they kind of got the rug pull too.
Yeah, well, not all games die a corrupt death. Some just kind of slowly trickle off. And speaking of which, Matt, I know you played a little more Highguard since
I did, yeah.
Last podcast, I think it had only been out for 1 day, and so you've had some more time to play it. How much more time did you put into it?
So I've got about 18 hours in the game now. I played for 3 nights. So I played it the 2 nights at the beginning, and I was pretty much done with it after that 2 nights. But then they came out with some stabilization patches, some optimization, and also added the 5v5 mode. So I was like, I'll play for one more time. And I got to say, the 5v5 mode was way, way more fun. Yeah. And I can't tell if it was because of the game mode. I'm pretty sure it was because of the game mode. But it was also, I adjusted some of my settings and was able to optimize it on my side. I lowered all of the graphical settings down to low, except for 2 was post-processing and the texture quality. So not only did my game actually look better, because I could keep the post-processing high, but it actually ran better. And because it ran better, all those mouse issues that I was experiencing didn't go away entirely, but wow, what a night and day difference my experience was in terms of being able to actually track people and like line up shots. So the 5v5 mode was actually more casual, as you would kind of expect. Your death or another person's death isn't going to mean that you just lose the round and lose that objective, right? So there's a lot more like kind of just chaotic, fun action, and it was made for some really casual, good time. Don't think it's going to be enough to save the game necessarily, but it at least provided. I think they probably should have had the 5v5 mode at release.
It seems like they probably thought that internally to a degree because it seemed ready to go. They're kind of like, if people don't like this, we got 5v5 ready to go.
It was ready to go.
Sure.
But you could tell it was a little rough around the edges because the map doesn't account for it. Like the map doesn't change. The like intro scenes where everyone does like their cool pose. They're like,
there's still 3 people.
Well, there's the 5 people, but it's like they just got shoved. 3 of them got shoved to the side, and then so it's like the camera does like some weird stuff in that where it's like this clearly was scrapped together at the last second.
Got it in there quick.
Yeah. I wouldn't say this was something that they had just ready to cook, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the player base it's dropping off on Highguard.
Yeah, I saw.
It's hard to see a future for that game. I would not be surprised if we hear some news about them throwing in the towel at some point down the road.
They got 6,000 people playing right now on Steam.
Okay.
And 24-hour of 10,000. So if they can maintain that and it can stabilize, I think that they could have something. But we're a week out from release, and it's gone down a lot. So it went down first day to 10,000, and now it's sort of been hovering around there, but it is starting to trail downward. So,
and granted, I believe it's got its console releases too, right? So
I believe it is on console too. Yeah.
So there's some player numbers over there as well. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to know, and obviously because it's a free-to-play game, free-to-play is highly reliant on what the conversion rate is for microtransactions. So people aren't investing in microtransactions, then you could have 10,000 players who aren't spending a penny. And that gets tricky, right? Especially if players are kind of spooked. They're like, oh no, people aren't playing, or like, I'm not finding matches or whatever. Like, you're not going to start spending money.
They're not going to start investing in exactly.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys posted from podcast to podcast, but I don't know how many more podcasts we're going to be chatting about it. Ballsy game to try and do some sort of competitive.
Yeah, I feel bad for them. I think they got a lot of unneeded hate. I genuinely think the hate was overblown. I think the whole Jeff Keighley, I don't think it's Jeff's fault. I mean, he was maybe a little bit more excited than the community
Jeff probably helped them in the grand scheme.
I do think he helped them, yeah.
They got way more press than they would have otherwise, for sure.
Yeah, the idea that they could have just done a shadow drop out of nowhere and like exploded onto the scene, the game would not have been... The game wasn't ready.
I think they peaked at almost like 100K on Steam or something like that. And if they shadow launched it,
it would never have gotten
some streamers would have picked it up and been like, what's this? But I don't know, 20K at launch. Like, it wouldn't have been crazy, maybe 30, 40, I don't know. But I think
maybe
all the talk before it came out, people were talking about the game because of the Game Awards. So
it still would have all the same issues. I think it needed to cook for longer, and it's a shame. It's a shame. Like I said, I wish them well, because I want more. We need more good FPS games on the market, especially unique ones that are trying to do at least something a little bit different.
Yeah,
and it is trying new things.
Well, speaking of good, quote unquote, good FPS games, the latest Call of Duty is getting blamed for bringing down basically Xbox's finances. Their earnings have come in, and Xbox is not looking good. In fact, basically all the analysts talking about it are like, we don't see how this platform's going to survive. Like, they're kind of...
Is that bad? I mean, they bought every company known to man. It has to survive.
Microsoft, like the gaming division of Microsoft, isn't going to evaporate. They own a lot of IPs. They can release those games on Xbox or PlayStation or wherever people are playing games. That's not a problem. But well, sorry, when I say Xbox, I mean Windows or PlayStation or whatever.
Right.
So if Xbox died, we'd still be getting those games. You're talking about
the Xbox box itself.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
And so like they're blaming Call of Duty for it, in that like a big part of the finances was based on like their first party IPs, the games that they're building and that they own. COD, Black Ops 7, is that what we're on now? Yeah, 7?
Yep. It was Black Ops 7, yeah.
Didn't do well. It underperformed. I think we all kind of knew that. And that was pretty much right after Microsoft bought, Activision, all that stuff. So they're like, all right, we're going to buy this company for all this money. It got approved, and now it's not doing well. They really bought COD on... It's not to say that COD's necessarily on the way out, but it's on... It feels like it's peaked, if that makes sense. So...
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, everyone plays COD. Everyone knows of COD. It's not like...
Yeah.
you're going to be selling more to more people, maybe.
But there's definitely a shift in the overall gaming sphere where COD doesn't feel like the big dog anymore. I mean, it's a huge title, but
they
it
need
doesn't
to have
feel
they
like
need to have a Modern Warfare
dominating
2019
force.
again.
Yeah, and they will as soon as they go, oh no, we need to make money. What's the most successful game in the franchise? Modern Warfare, do that. Yeah, and they'll make that game again, but there will be diminishing returns, I think, every time that they go back and tap that Modern Warfare.
Well, I think that they can't just tap it. I think they have to make something fresh, but also like they can't just do a Modern Warfare 1 remake again, where they're like, hey, it's Modern Warfare. You remember that game? You guys really like that in 2019, right?
Right.
I think they have to do something that resonates with the players, but is also like fresh. And I don't think that they're putting the time in to actually really try something new. I'm not saying they needed to break brand spanking or anything like that, but if you're going to keep going down the same path, of course you should expect the same results, and people are going to eventually get bored by it.
Yeah, they're so similar with Battlefield in terms of the way that both games have these long-standing like ideas about what they should be, long-standing player bases. They release games at a kind of a breakneck pace as fast as they possibly can, and they don't take big risks with them, at least from the like gameplay side. They're usually like, here's the main stuff and we're just going to follow our formula and not deviate too much.
This isn't just exclusive to them, because like Ubisoft is currently in this predicament right now. They go like, these companies kind of go in cycles where it's like, hey, we got a new idea and it worked really well. And that's what you had the Assassin's Creed franchise. Assassin's Creed did really well at the beginning, kind of had a lull, and then they went to Origins, which was like their kind of reimagining of the open world and the Assassin's Creed franchise. It's like, oh, this is great. And then they had Odyssey and they're like, oh, this is great. And then it's like, oh, now we're still sort of doing the same thing and it's starting to get old and now it's tailing off. And they're like, okay, well, now what do we do, right? Like, it was working. We were making tons of cash with that formula, but now that formula is apparently not selling anymore. Like, what do we do? Panic mode, right? And obviously Ubisoft is currently struggling significantly right now with that predicament. And I have a feeling that's also true for DICE, Battlefield, Call of Duty, all sorts of companies, right?
Yep. And we sort of didn't talk about Battlefield last podcast. I thought we had talked about some of the updates on what season 2 is bringing and stuff like that, but we kind of missed it because the news got announced like right before 1. But kind of to summarize what's going on in that sphere, it sort of feels like they're following their similar content release formula that they've had with prior games, which is sort of like 2 maps and maybe a handful of weapons or a new vehicle. And historically that has not been enough to keep the player base happy or super engaged. It seems like feels like kind of like a life support drip for the game in a way. And I think people are surprised because of the way that the game launched, getting a lot of positive feedback, and people are like, it's back, Battlefield's back, baby, like that was sort of the meme. And then it's like, and now it's back to its same old of, and here's a little bit of content. It's not to say that the new upcoming content doesn't look cool or that I don't have interest in it, but it's a small amount, right? Like if they release one new map at the beginning of the season and then one new map midway through the season, you're like, all right. Like,
if we get 2 maps and the Gold Mud remake in the 3 months, and then they keep that cadence up of 2 new maps and a remade map, I would be okay with that cadence.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. Because then we get, essentially 3 maps coming, every season, and that would be all right. I would like more than that. I would like them to go back to what it was back in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 days, where they proved that they could deliver like 4 maps every other couple of months. It was absolutely bananas with like 10 guns per season. But I get it.
We were spoiled. We were told what we could have, and now we can't have it anymore. What the heck,
like, I mean, that's what's so frustrating. Is like they proved that they could do it, right? We've seen you do it. We've seen you do it multiple times. You can't just be like, oh, well, this time we're only giving you 1 map. It's like, why? Like, what justification do you have for this?
Yeah. Also, it just feels like there's no good excuse at this point to not have your production pipeline dialed in, right? You've been working on the Frostbite engine for like a decade, longer. You've had it forever. Yeah. Did it come out with Bad Company or something? They've had Frostbite for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it sort of developed a reputation for being difficult to work with. A lot of devs didn't like learning it and got frustrated, and often compared it to other engines and said it was lacking in terms of the workflow. And new dev studios would pick up Frostbite and have a really hard time making it. Medal of Honor Warfighter was a good example of that. They're like
Dragon Age, all sorts.
Yeah, so EA really forced the engine on a lot of studios, and they really struggled with it, and could arguably be the reason for the downfall of those projects, because they were trying to use this difficult engine. So maybe there's some of that in there. I really have no idea, because it's EA proprietary tech. We can't just open up the Frostbite engine and see if it's good or bad. But having messed around in Unreal for over 2 years straight now, making levels and environments and stuff like that, it takes skill, but it's not cumbersome, right? You don't have all these roadblocks in your way. And I could see a team being able to whip out some really cool, good looking maps quickly in Unreal. I don't know why it would take so much longer in Frostbite, but
especially when they're supposedly the largest selling game of 2025.
Yeah, you could have 5 guys working on the same map or something like that. But there's some interesting stuff. Like, something that's new in the latest Unreal Engine is they have this cool tool that allows this. It's called like one file per actor. So a level, instead of just being a singular file, is actually broken up into thousands of files. And so 2 people can work on the same level in different areas at the same time. And that way you're not like, hang on, Tim's working in the level right now. Wait till he saves.
Struggling.
Wait till he saves so that Todd can then open up the level and do his work on the level. No, you can now have like 10 people working on the same environment simultaneously, which is cool and super necessary if you're going to do big open world parallel projects development stuff. So I don't know if Frostbite has that kind of thing, but if they didn't, I could see that being really hard, because then your level design is, you can have people making assets on the side, but you got one guy ultimately putting it all together in one big thing. So if you're limited by one person per level, that would be a good reason for why it's so slow.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my nerdy game dev speculation, but I hope they can kind of get their stuff together and maybe just start working on that content so stinking far in advance so that it's ready by the time
we don't even have confirmation that we're getting 2 new maps in
the
season 2. All we know, because we know of Gold Mud, which is exciting.
We know that they're testing Gold Mud right now too.
Right. So we're getting testing of Gold Mud, right? So we don't even know. It just says maps. It doesn't say we're getting updated maps. Yeah. Is that going to be just the new one that we saw in Gold Mud? Is it going to be, another new one? It could be 3. I don't think it's going to be 3 new maps. Let's be honest. But I think season 2 and season 3 are going to be really big for Battlefield 6, because at that point, if you don't show that you are committed to the game, then people aren't going to commit to your game, and they're going to move on. And I think they're going to lose that window, and it's going to be closing soon. So I'm really hopeful that DICE isn't going to drop the ball again with post-launch content. Like, you have the biggest selling game of 2025. I just cannot fathom how you would drop the ball again with what most people consider to be like a good, solid foundation. Like, they did a good job with Battlefield 6. Like, yes, it has its problems. Yes, you could go in and, critique, but all in all, like, people were enjoying it during the beta, and that's I think why the game sold so well, is because people were having fun. Like, they were enjoying it, right? So I'm getting a little riled up, because I'm like, man,
I gotcha. We've been
down this route so many times. It's like, you can do it. I believe in you. Just do it.
It's tough, because so many of the games have come out with really big launch day problems and a lot of work to do to correct those problems.
Yeah.
BF6 is not one of those games. Sure, it had some issues. Sure, it had some balance changes, but nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing that was like, oh my God, they really went the wrong direction. It was, like you said, a great foundation. You're like, great. We're only going up from here, right?
Right.
As long as they can continue to inject it with a bunch of new, fun, interesting content. We are getting the Little Bird, Matt, so I know you're excited about that. So at least you have that to look forward to.
I can't wait for those menaces to absolutely ruin the map.
It's going to be so hard to balance. Historically, almost impossible.
Yeah.
There's let's see, what do you want to get into? Do you want to talk about something you've been playing, or you want to talk about crazy?
Yeah, I would love to talk about a game I've been playing. It's called Cairn. Have you heard of it? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What a game, dude. What a game. For those of you that are not aware, Cairn is literally about climbing a mountain. It is kind of like, what was that, Quap, where you control the limbs vibe, right? So you play as this woman named Ava, and she is on a mission to scale a mountain. And that is the entire game. There is a story that kind of permeates throughout that will kind of give you some backstory as to what she's dealing with. She's got some problems, let's just say. She starts off a little jaded, and you're like, whoa, this lady is not very likable. And she's continued to be not very likable, but she's starting to like warm up now the higher we get up. And but it's literally about scaling a mountain and literally controlling each and every limb and placing them on the rock as you scale on up, and it does it fairly realistically.
Yeah.
One comment that I've gotten a lot is from people that actually rock climb, and they're like, this is one of the best representations of rock climbing we've ever gotten in a video game, because it uses like techniques and strategy and just the way the character moves up the mountain is like, it's really organic, and I think they've done a fantastic job.
That's awesome. Does it have stamina and all that built into it?
So your character does have stamina. There's no like bar or something that you have to.
It's but not Zelda.
So the way that it works is that you'll be climbing, and if you are not in a good position, let's say you don't have any footing, and you're just trying to like scamper up the side, right? Like she's gonna slip, and she's gonna start to shake because she's spending so much energy trying to keep herself on what is effectively not a great handhold or a foothold. Yeah. And then she'll fall, and she'll, whatever happens. If you have a piton, you'll be saved. If you don't, you'll die. Right. So there is a stamina system that you have to manage, but it is all done through like a visual. She'll start to like shake violently.
Yeah.
That's the one part that's a little janky, is there's really no other way for you to show that it's unstable other than her legs just start doing the Macarena. She just starts going absolutely bananas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love the concept of it. The climbing games have oddly had like we haven't really had climbing games before, and all of a sudden there's like 10 climbing games, and you're like, what's happening?
I think Death Stranding has had a little bit of influence in this, how just getting from point A to point B can be really gratifying. I had to scale a wall that took us, so there's like a day-night cycle. So you have to worry about going out at night. If you're at night, it's colder, and it's also harder to see your line. Like you kind of have to track and plan where you're going to go. Because if you just try to go straight up, you're going to fail. Like it's very difficult. But at night, it's really hard to see. So you're just like, I'm just kind of winging it, and I'm running into a lot of problems because of that. And so there was I feel like it's the midway. I'm not sure exactly how far along in the game I am, but there's like a midway point where you reach this wall, and it is so tall that there's no save points anywhere in sight, and you have to just go up for multiple days up this wall.
Wow.
And it was a challenge, to say the least. I failed. I literally had to start over, and we lost an hour of progress.
Oh my God.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the biggest, dare I say, wall I had to overcome in the game, where I was like, this is almost to the point where I'm like, I'm frustrated and not having fun anymore. But then when I finally got to the top, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I actually pushed through, because it felt incredible. Like that's actually one thing that has permeated through this game is the sense of satisfaction when you actually overcome these challenges, which I was not expecting from a climbing game.
Yeah, it's really cool for devs to do that, where like I can see how you're explaining how they built it, where they're like, you probably are learning the skills, you have more frequent save points, you're not getting massively punished at the start of the game, and then you get to a point and they're like, you've got the skills.
They're like, all right, you got it. Good luck.
Here's a real challenge. And you're like, oh my God. That's fun. That's kind of ballsy for them to do that, where most games would just kind of give you a nice little hand holding the whole way through. And it's kind of, old games used to do this all the time, where when you failed, the setback would be pretty substantial. You're like, dang, I got to do that all again. They don't do that as much these days because gamers inevitably get frustrated, and you don't want to kill your game's retention time or like have people give up on your game. So they get afraid and they go, no, let's make sure that people can get through this and complete it. And then they don't really have that sense of satisfaction because the game was too easy. So it takes some risk to go out there and say, hey, we're going to make this trickier. But we got to find the right balance, right? It's got to be just the right balance where maybe you fail once or twice and then you get it. And now you feel really good about.
There are difficulty settings. Apparently there's like an assisted mode. There's the mode I'm in, which is like normal. And then there's like a hard mode. Some people have played the hardest mode, freestyle, where they don't use any batons. So they've got they're not using a cable or anything. And they go up the mountain in an hour and a half. And I'm like, man, I've been playing this game for like 12 hours and I'm still not at the top. Like, how in the world?
You can do it that fast?
Yeah, exactly. That was my thought, right? So there's clearly a like skill to this game. I will say one setting for me that really helped out is I was really struggling to identify what limb I was selecting. So the game, basically the game is about pressing X, but you direct where you want your hand to be held, and then you press X, and then she'll like put her hand on the wall, and if there's a crack there, she'll probably grab the crack, right? And that's a good handhold. But sometimes she'll go above it and she'll just put her hand on the wall, which is not a good handhold, right? And so you have to make sure you get in the right spot. But what this means is that if you're in a sticky situation where you're climbing up and her legs are starting to shake, and you're like, okay, I gotta get to in the right position, because if I don't, she's gonna fall. All of a sudden you're just spamming X, trying to like move the things on the right spot, but you're not sure what limb, because you're not Ava, right? And the game tries to select the limb that it thinks it uses like physics and like what has the most stability to what should be selected next. So it's not just going around in a circle of like, all right, left limb, right limb, left leg, right leg, right? It's random. Not completely random.
There's some logic to it, but there's
logic behind it, right?
You might not always know which limb it's going to select, it sounds like.
Right.
Okay.
You can select them yourself, which I do from time to time.
Yeah.
But what's really helped me is it will highlight now. I've got a setting on, will highlight the actual limb, because if you're against a wall and all your limbs are tucked in next to you and you're trying to figure out what limb it is, and all you see is your character doing this and she's shaking, it's like, well, I don't know where I need to put my limb because I can't tell what is actually. So that was a great setting that I turned on. A little bit of immersion breaking, but I think it was worth it to actually get more immersed in the sense that I actually control the character the way I want to control it.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. It looks like a neat game. It kind of, this visual style reminds me a little bit of Firewatch.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And I assume it has kind of a narrative that
there is a narrative
unfolds. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's I would not say the game has some touching moments here and there, but the game is definitely more about the gameplay and moving up the mountain. The thematics is about isolationism and being alone with yourself and not being able to get over things, literally, right?
Right. Okay. So some heavy-handed metaphors here. It sounds
there's definitely some metaphors involved with the game for sure.
Okay.
It's not going to be for everybody. It's because it's a game about climbing a mountain, and it's very literally just climbing a mountain.
These are your middle-aged gaming experiences where you're like, mountain climbing game? All right. Oh, a game where you're walking across a long open field? Interesting. Sign me up.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if it does tickle your fancy, I would definitely consider picking it up for sure.
Cool.
And I still haven't finished it yet. The final stretch could be, just the worst thing ever, and I hate it after the fact. I don't know, but
I mean, people are beating it in an hour and a half, Matt. Like, what's the problem? Come on.
What am I even doing, right?
Step up your climbing game. How are people doing it that fast? Because it only came out days ago. Like,
I don't know, dude. It's sitting at very positive rating on Steam with 2,600. So people are enjoying it, and it's for good reason.
I'm glad that companies are taking swings like this. And
Me too.
I've seen a bunch of, you were playing a climbing game that was like a co-op climbing game earlier last year. Peak. Yeah. And I know there's been a few other climbing adjacent or climbing injected games as well. So I know they've got a VR one too, which I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Don't need to look down like 1,000 feet,
Vertigo.
Yeah. But yeah, climbing's in, man.
Climbing's in, guys.
Yeah. What?
Buy now.
I even like the climbing in the Zelda games, where he's just got his little stamina wheel and you got to get to the thing fast enough before you fall. That was enough for me. I was like, I like this. It was fun.
Yeah.
Solid. You know how I'm always harping on about Valve and Steam and all that fun stuff?
Correct. I am very, very much aware.
Well, apparently the UK shares my sentiments, and they are suing Valve. Well, Yes. They're attempting, I should say, to sue Valve in a lawsuit that just got approved. This one was started back in 2024, but it got approved to go through, where they're going to attempt to fine Valve $900 million, which is not a small amount. It's a pretty big
amount.
It's almost the budget of Star Citizen, aimed at fair prices. And I gotta say, the social media response to this article I found really just like
discouraging.
Well, I found it typical because they completely missed the point. Most of it was aimed.
Because I saw people posting like, fair prices? What do you mean? Steam has the best fair prices for consumers. Yeah.
Well,
and that's how people interpret it.
Also, people don't understand why that might be. So one of the angles, so there's a lot of different aspects of this lawsuit. One of them is that Valve have a price parity situation where they don't like it when you sell your game for less on another platform. So when people go, Valve has the best prices. Yeah, because you might get kicked off of the platform if you put it for a way less price on some other platform. Like if you sold your game for less on Epic Games Store because they take less of a cut so you can afford to do that, Valve doesn't like that. I think they have a bunch of contractual stuff in there that actually prevents you from doing it. So that's part of it.
That is some monopoly looking stuff right there, honestly. Yeah.
That part of it is not okay. Another interesting part of it is that they're saying that the DLC culture of saying, okay, well, you bought a game on this platform and now you're forced to buy all of your DLC through that same platform for the game is non-competitive. It means that platform no longer has to be appealing just because they now have you trapped as a thing there. And I was like, that's interesting. I never thought of that before. I don't know how you would change. I mean, it technically works on Steam where your game is installed on the hard drive. So if you buy the DLC from another store, I guess that makes sense. I don't see a lot of
other platforms do that too.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Not just a Valve.
Yeah, and I imagine most people would probably just prefer to buy the DLC there. But I don't know.
Keep it right on your. Yeah, exactly.
That's an interesting angle. And then the other angle, and then the other thing about the lawsuit is they're just saying, hey, the 30% cut that Valve asked from every single title is just way too high in anti-developer. And people are saying, oh, well, the prices for games are, fair or whatever. It's like they'd be even lower if Valve didn't charge 30% fee. And so the consumer,
potentially lower. I doubt that they would be lower, but potentially lower.
Well, you could afford to sell your game for $15 versus 20.
Most games would probably keep the same price and then pocket the money. But.
Yeah, or survive, right? They would keep the same price.
I'm talking most bigger titles, right?
Yeah.
But indie devs would have potentially more wiggle room to be able to be, instead of $25, it's $20.
Yeah. Well, and also like just business economics 101 is like more of that money would go back into the game instead of Valve's pocket in which case it
Right.
then goes into buying yachts. It's like, do you want
Right.
Gabe to have another yacht, or do you want another DLC for your game?
I
mean, you get invited to those yachts, Matt, so you might want him to have another yacht. But I personally would
friends
love
with Gabe, and I wonder what that would be like. He'd probably be a really chill dude. He seems like a decent guy.
He seems super mellow. I think he's really into diving right now. So you got to get into diving. Sure. Get your diving license. They like give out diving certification. That's it, right? You can be like certified.
I don't think they just give them out. I think you have to really work for it.
Yeah, I mean, you dive down there. I'm just saying, get your certification. You can buddy up with Gabe.
Me. Yeah, not open water. Hell no.
Yeah. No. Too many Subnautica playthroughs. You're just like, nah, I'm good up here.
I'm good. I know there's not the Kraken down there, but there could be.
I know. It's just something about, especially when the water's not clear, and you're just like, anything could be down there.
Even on like a lake, I'm like, ooh, no, I'm good. No.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I know, because like a big old fish brushes your leg or something. You're like, yeah, what was that? I don't like it.
It's just not knowing what's there that I find scary. I'm just afraid of the unknown.
Yeah. Well, and also it depends where you live, right? If you're like in Florida, yeah, stay out of the water.
Oh, yeah, dude, hell no. I would get nowhere near that water if I was in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. So fair enough. I feel you there on the whole water situation.
We'll see what happens to Valve. I like Steam. I mean, as a user, Steam is great. They're
the best monopoly one could hope for. They got there by generally being anti-competitive, but now that they are a monopoly, they haven't really had any pushback to not do whatever the heck they want.
I understand why people are like, stop. What are you doing? Steam's great. Like they're great, but they're good now. And there should be some checks. And what happens in 20 years when Gaben is no longer a part of the company, or they've got, they've sold, or we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen to Steam.
Steam could change their rate to 50% tomorrow.
No, there's nothing to do about it.
There'd be nothing anybody could do, and there would be no competition. And by the time that competition starts to ramp up, because they're like, finally, like Epic Game Store or whatever, or GOG or whichever game store is doing well now, Steam could just be like, oh, okay, fine, we'll drop it back down, and then wipe out their competition again. Like there's so many anti-competitive tools available to a monopoly that people don't understand, that really the only way to regulate a monopoly is to regulate the monopoly. And that's what the UK is trying to do right now. So I am for it, even though I'm not like, championing all UK policy against tech. I think there's some good, some bad. I think this one has more benefits than it does downside.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think Steam's going to all of a sudden just implode because of it, but.
Oh, no. Yeah. Their employees might have to take some slightly lower salaries. Not everyone can make $1 million a year there.
That is pretty cool. It is pretty cool how their employees do make so much money and they get a lot of it. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah. It is pretty cool. And it's great.
It's cool, right? Like, I think it's cool. They don't have shareholders to beholden to, so they get it. They give it to their employees. I think it's neat.
I think it's cool. I would think it was cooler if I didn't have the feeling that all that money was coming from some people working their butts off to try and get a game out the door that makes some money and often failing.
And they would make the argument that the reason why devs are even able to make the games and produce and have that kind of as a living is because of a platform like Steam that is so mainstream that allows people to even have the option to buy them from a convenience place.
That's the conundrum, right? Is like this indie market, while it technically, there was a way to be an indie dev before Steam, it was incredibly hard.
Right.
There was not this marketplace that people would flock to buy your game,
Right.
So I appreciate the platform and I appreciate what it has done for the indie market. But like any platform, it does need checks and balances.
Yeah.
Also, do you remember how anti-Steam people were when it first came out?
Yeah.
People were like, hated the idea because it was more pushing into the you don't own anything economy, because
not only that, but you had to have it on your PC at all times. And
you had to have an internet connection.
Right.
Yeah. So people were buying single player games, and then it's like, I need to be online to play my like SimCity or whatever the heck I'm playing. Yeah.
Yep.
There's huge pushback right
Little
up until
did they
that
know.
everybody just adopted it and we're like, well, this is how we play games now.
Yep. Little did they know it'd become the biggest thing.
Yep. Bigger. Yeah. Quite literally. There was some, are you familiar with GDC? Game Developer Conference? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every year they have a GDC. I believe it's in San Francisco. And sometimes it'll pop up on your radar because they show off some really cool new engine feature. Like Epic likes to show off cool Unreal Engine tech there. And they're like, check out this stuff that's coming. And everybody goes, oh my God, games are going to be amazing. And that's usually where the average consumer hears about it. But if you're in the dev scene, you hear about it for all the other wheeling and dealing that goes on behind the scenes. They were doing polls where people who sign up to GDC have the option to fill out an optional poll that just asks them general questions about their career in the game industry. And then they use those polls to show the public, and like we get to learn from what people in the game industry are doing and what they're up to. Some interesting data came out of GDC this year. One of them was that this was for US game developers. In the last 2 years, 33% of the workforce has been laid off.
33%?
33% in 2 years got laid off. And about half of them are still looking for work after they got laid off.
Oh my God.
So just to give you an idea of the scope, because that's all we've been covering.
Really bad.
Yeah. Think about how many stories we've covered on this podcast where it's like, hey, this studio closed. Hey, these guys laid off 10,000 employees. Hey, these guys laid off half the studio. Hey, they're scaling down the scope of this project. They're merging. They got acquired. Whatever. Like, people are getting fired in mass quantities. And we could call it COVID bubble, ripples still. I don't know what it is entirely, but globally, it was about 28%, so not quite as bad as in the US.
That's still pretty bad,
but
though.
It's still pretty crazy, man. Like, if you're looking for a safe, stable career for the future, well, I don't have anything to recommend to you. Maybe a plumber or like a nurse or something. But other than that, game dev.
Ironically, nurse, maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see, right? But game dev is not up there, man. Oh my God, the layoffs are just insane.
Was there any exciting news and non-depressing news coming out of there?
I think the indie scene is where things are looking the best. Indie devs are less reliant on outside money. They're able to get a lot more done with self-funding. So self-funding has gone up a lot in the indie scene, which overall is good. They're not beholden to publishers telling them to ship their game early or to put more Call of Duty like stuff in it or whatever, That's
my favorite. That's my favorite.
Cool.
Put some Call of Duty in that single player game. What, sir? What? You heard me.
This doesn't look like Fortnite. Fortnite's a really big game. You should make it more like Fortnite. Yeah. So that's generally speaking a good thing. And so I think we're living in the golden age of indie development right now. You're playing a cool climbing game that, a AAA studio wouldn't have made. Be like, climbing game, get out of here. Absolutely not. You're playing a cool climbing game because some indie devs were like, hey, like Todd's a really good climber and he's got an idea for a climbing game. Like, cool.
Yeah,
that probably was birthed by some dude who's like a really good climber and a programmer, game dev or something, and is like, what if we just make a climbing game? I got a cool idea.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, you wouldn't come up with that idea if you weren't a climber.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why you would be like, what if we just made something about climbing? Okay, do you like climbing? Nah.
Yeah, I didn't watch that live stream of the Free Solo guy do the skyscraper.
I don't like watching Free Solo stuff because it feels either there's two results and one of the results is not for me. So
yeah, totally. I like the documentary where you're like, I know this guy's not going to die because I know that he didn't die. He's alive right now, so I can watch the documentary. And it's still gut-wrenching at times where you're just like, oh my God, what is he doing? In fact, I highly recommend the Free Solo documentary. It's incredible.
It's fascinating stuff. But
yeah. But live,
it's,
you're right. I didn't want to watch it either because I was like, I get why they're doing it live because people want to see this craziness, and see if he falls, right? And it's kind of gross. It's a little bit gross.
I would like to think that people aren't watching it because they want to see a guy fall. But there's absolutely the tension there. Mm-hmm. It seems a bit selfish to put yourself into that situation, right? Like there's just something about it that I just don't like the idea personally.
Selfish on whose perspective? What do you mean?
On their perspective.
On the climber?
The climber's perspective. Yeah. Like
he's
it's
being
just
selfish?
In a way. It's hard for me to articulate why I feel that way. So I'm probably not using the right word, but there's just something about it where I don't know. I just don't like it. But it's a personal thing.
I understand it. I think I get what you're saying. Like he's exposing himself to a huge amount of risk, which ultimately is going to affect anybody in his life. And I think he's a dad and a husband and all that kind of stuff. And so you're like, it's a lot of risk to subject yourself to. And there's a lot of careers and professions where you do have to subject yourself to a certain amount of risk, and everybody's got like a tolerance for what is and isn't acceptable. And I think I understand where you're coming from. You're like, yeah, why would you do this? Like, you're successful.
I think,
you've got a good
said,
life.
Yeah. It's not only the people in his life. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's a tough one. And, I don't know. I'm fascinated.
He seems like a cool dude. He genuinely seems like a nice guy. He's well-spoken.
Alex Honnold or something like that.
I think that's right. I think his name is Alex.
Yeah. No, he seems super cool. They did a brain scan of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think
just
they did it.
How he works.
Yeah, basically. And I'm, of course, going to butcher the explanation of this because it's brain science. But basically, it was like things that get us excited or stimulated, or we find if we see something that scares us, the things that trigger our adrenaline and all that stuff. His tolerance just starts at just this completely different level for everybody compared to everybody else. It's just so way out of line. So he's like, yeah, I can look at everything like objectively. And the only thing that really gets me kind of feeling life, like you might feel life on a roller coaster. He's like, I feel life when I'm like, got no rope on me and I'm climbing El Capitan like 500 feet up a rock face with no safety net. And you're like, okay, to each their own, I guess. But that's a hell of a condition or whatever you want to call it to have. I'm glad I don't need that to feel excitement.
Speaking of condition, I feel like he may have conditioned himself in some respect where once you reach those highs, how does the rest of life compete with that?
Yeah, and part of the documentary too was talking about how many of the other free solo climbers have died, and you're just like,
and once again, why I think it's a very selfish thing to do, because like,
it's true. You're doing it for your own enjoyment, right? And ultimately,
and that's fine. It's your life. Do what you want to do, but so I'm not trying to like besmirch this guy. Like I think we both
like him. We both think he's cool. But it's hard
I just don't like, especially live. I would not want to watch that live.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, that was part of the documentary too. It's such a good documentary. But like, they talked to his wife and stuff, and she's like, yeah, this shit scares me, man.
It's terrifying. Holy God. I can't even imagine.
No way, man. No, thank you.
Yeah.
You want to tell me what Midnight Walkers is? Is this when you get hungry in the middle of the night, Matt, and you're like, I just got to get...
exactly what it is.
I'm going to the 7-Eleven. I'm getting me a big gulp.
That was exactly.
All right.
Midnight Walkers is a Dark and Darker clone, but instead of being fantasy where you are casting, magic spells and you're a warlock, you are playing as a dude in a tower fighting zombies. There was a zombie outbreak, and it is your job to go from floor to floor, potentially, trying to take out zombies, get loot. It's an extraction game, and get out alive.
Do you get out at the top of the tower?
No. So it's actually kind of interesting in the sense that because there's different levels, you all spawn on different levels, and each level will, after a certain amount of time, randomly it will be gassed, and if you're on it, you'll take continuous damage. So you need to get it. You need to find an elevator or a staircase
mechanic
to go to the different levels, right? So there's kind of like some verticality to it, which is pretty cool, honestly. I thought that was neat. You'll have like fights in stairwells because people need to get from one floor to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
The issue, well, or what I consider to be the issue, is it's incredibly like samey, repetitive.
Okay.
I felt like I was hitting a zombie in the face the same way I was hitting a zombie in the face first hour to the sixth hour that I was playing. I don't have a lot of experience with Dark and Darker.
Mm-hmm.
I never played the game at launch. I only played the beta. But I also found Dark and Darker to be a bit repetitive, and this felt like it was even more so. Enemies have like different attack animations that they can do. Also, for some reason, they have a way better reach than you do. I mean, you have like a katana, right? And you like swing your katana at them, and you slightly miss. But sometimes just like, and then a split second after you miss, they somehow lunge forward and like hit you. It's like the length of my arm and the katana wasn't enough to hit this enemy, but they could just hit me. Like what is, so there's some weird like funky hitbox things going on that I found to be a little frustrating. But I know there's some streamers that I watch that have clearly been enjoying it. They've been streaming it, day in and day out. But I was ultimately whelmed by the experience. If you want a Dark and Darker alternative with zombies in early access, where they're clearly just kind of making the game, then maybe give it a whirl. But yeah, I was pretty whelmed by it.
I at least look at Darker and Darker gameplay, and I go, yeah, I like the fantasy side of that. That makes it kind of more interesting. And I feel like putting the shooter side into it makes it less interesting to a degree. And I can't put my finger on it, but maybe it's just because there's so many shooters out there where ultimately... there is technically shooting, but the main thing is melee. Okay, so it's still primarily melee. Okay, I was looking
but
at
there is
some
shotguns and there is like bows
people
and stuff.
Have got guns in it. So that's like if you pick up one, or do you bring in a good shotgun?
You bring it in, yeah.
Okay.
You risky. It's an extraction game, so like Tarkov, you bring in good loot. Maybe the further you get along, maybe that stuff becomes less rare.
Okay.
But in my entire time, I think I came across like 2 shotguns and like 2 shotgun rounds. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah. So it doesn't give you a lot.
How hard is it to find ammo in this dystopian universe, man?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, the game like map, even though it has like multiple floors, it got pretty repetitive, unfortunately. So, but it's early access, and I wish the devs well.
I mean, that's a tricky situation. We've talked about it before. Is like by nature, every game is repetitive to a degree. Like you can't just make brand new gameplay for every level, or you'll never finish the game. So it's really just about making that repetition fun and engaging, and like a loop that really is satisfying for a long period of time. And that's hard to do. So if you don't get the formula right, then you're like, well, we made 30 hours of boring content, so you got to dial it down, man. Dial it in there.
I'll keep my eye on it, but
I
don't have the highest hopes.
You're giving it a we'll see what happens review.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Fair enough. I've been watching a little bit of Bridgerton season 4, Matt.
Oh, your little guilty pleasure.
I know you were excited to hear about this one. Yeah, a little bit of a guilty pleasure. I'm not even guilty about it, I'll be honest.
That's fair. Yeah, like what you like, dude.
But I will say season 4 is like, it's getting to the point where you're like, all right, so we're gonna do it again. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Going with this formula again. Let's rock and roll.
It is. I have a couple of complaints with these types of shows, or at least this specific show. This show like exists in a bubble where it's supposed to be it's kind of like an alternate reality of like Victorian era.
Alternate reality period piece, kind of, but like dramatized.
Yes, which I'm totally fine with. I think that's a fun concept to like retell history and sort of stay in this Victorian era and make it what you want it to be. Cool. They seem to be completely disconnected from the outside world, and that people kind of leave and come back to this area, but there's never any sort of like conflict around. And so the problem with that, like there's no like big trade policy or outside war or politics extending beyond their little town area. And so you're just sort of like, everybody just seems to be generally happy and just obsessed with matchmaking. Right.
That sounds nice, honestly.
Right. No, it is. It's somebody's sort of like utopian idea of what society would be.
All you got to worry about is who's banging who. Like that sounds
right.
That sounds great.
Well, they've got a queen, and that's all the queen cares about is like what the next matchmaking thing. I'm like,
matchmaking.
Isn't she like, really funny. Dealing with like ambassadors and like politics and foreign? No, she is 100% obsessed with matchmaking the whole time.
Who's got time for that other more important stuff?
I know. Well, and that's fine, except once you're 4 seasons into it and they really are trying to sell this universe as being real, you're like, it feels like we're living in like a simulation. It's starting to feel like the Matrix a little bit, right? You're like, at some point, somebody's going to feel angry and want to like start a war or like have some trade thing or something. No, none of that ever. It's just everybody's cool and happy all the time. And then, of course, there's the like, they slightly dip into the like, oh, the servant life isn't as nice as the high society life stuff.
Oh, who could have seen that coming?
But the thing is that you can't get too deep on that because then you have to recognize this general monstrosity of the class system. And you're rooting for the people who are of nobility, right? Those are the main characters. You're like, I hope this noble person hooks up with that noble person. And then the servants are always like, yay, they got together. And I'm like, your lives, you're basically slaves.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, not everything needs to be a reflection on reality. And, it's as long as it's fun, as long as it's enjoyable.
It's my plot holy brain that looks at these shows and I'm like, okay, hang on a second.
Shouldn't she be doing something important right now? No.
Yeah. Well, also, like, what's funny is like the plot of this, the plot of this season is like, okay, the guy falls for the girl because she's very much Cinderella style, sneaks into one of these debutante balls, and she's dressed up and looks like one of the, the elites, and then turns out she's not the elite,
she's a peasant.
He can't be with her, right? But it feels like it's pushing in the direction where, and I haven't watched the whole season yet, but I assume that she's going to find some way to become an aristocrat versus him just being like, no, I will marry this peasant. I could be wrong, but it sort of seems like it's pushing that way where it's like eventually she will, because it's like ultimately they want the wealth. They want to be like taken care of and all that stuff. Right. But it's just funny that the universe just seems to only exist around like if you make it or not. It's not like the peasant life or whatnot, which I don't know. It's fun.
Which
it's funny.
Maybe or ironically is sending a certain message that they may not intend to be trying to portray.
Yeah. If you compare it to something like Downton Abbey, right, which spends a huge amount of time talking about the servants and the servant lives and all that stuff, and it doesn't necessarily always glorify them being servants to a degree, that's a more interesting take, I think, where it's like it's more well-rounded. And this one's like, no, the goal is really to just be super wealthy and then kind of complain about your life, and then the servants will like pick your handkerchief off the ground as you like toss it behind you or whatever.
It kind of sounds like it's written from the viewpoint of the aristocrats, where it's like, the servants, of course, love what they do because they're helping me, right? Kind of vibe.
They touch on that a little bit this season. They're trying to get into it, but it's you can only go so deep before you have to recognize that the class structure is inherently problematic. You know? You're like, okay, like it's still a class structure, and the best case scenario is that you are a benevolent master. And that's about it, right? You're like, oh, this master's great. He like gives us a pat on the back after we do our hard work, and you're like,
he says, who's a good boy?
Yeah, good job. So it's fun. It's funny. It's silly.
Did you hear the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere news?
No, is that a new book?
So Brandon Sanderson is one of the largest authors in the world now.
Yeah.
But he sold his rights to Apple TV for basically the Cosmere, which is big franchise, basically the Marvel of fantasy.
Oh, so Cosmere is like the what's the first one? The King something?
So the Cosmere is his universe, basically.
Oh my God.
So all of his books are not all of them, but almost all of them are connected in
How many books
Cosmere.
is that?
Oh, it's too, I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and not just a lot of books, but his big books are like
the pages,
1,000 pages long or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mistborn is a part of it. He's got Mistborn Era 1, 2. He's working on Mistborn Era 3. Stormlight Archives is the really big one, the one that I love, which is one of my favorites. So so Apple TV
for how
will
much?
Now be able to, we don't know the amount.
They didn't say, come on, man.
They may have said, but I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
The exciting thing though is that he will have very large creative control over what is allowed and what is not allowed. He's actually going to be writing the screenplay apparently over the next 6 months, and he'll be very much involved with the production and everything going forward. More than George R. Martin, more than Harry Potter and stuff like that. So
apparently George got screwed, dude. Apparently they didn't like him on a bunch of the seasons that suck. You look into it and you're like, oh, they stopped taking his feedback.
Yeah.
They kicked him off, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Brandon has said in the past, I don't want to be putting words into his mouth, but it's something to the effect of a lot of these companies have gone to him asking to buy the rights
I bet
to
every single one.
Right. And they're always surprised when he says no, because they're always they're like, wait, we're going to give you millions of dollars and you just excuse it? Like, what? What do you mean no? Right.
Yeah.
Brandon, I think, wants a legacy. I think he wants to be the next Lord of the Rings kind of vibe, where he wants to solidify himself as one of the biggest fantasy authors. And I think transitioning to movies and television is that next step.
Yeah.
And I think he wants to do it right.
If he can solidify himself as the lead writer or the lead editor oversight on all these scripts, that, like you're saying, that would be amazing. Because that really is the downfall of all of this stuff, right? Is what happened to The Witcher. They started straying from the source material. The show was great. It failed. Yeah. All of these.
Yeah. So once again, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think the reason why he was not accepting those deals back then was I don't think they were given enough creative control. And he's really well off. He said he doesn't need money, right?
Hasn't he crowdfunded books for $100 million?
Not $100 million. No, not anywhere close to that. I think it was 10 million or something. But it was a lot of money. He's not hurting for money. Yeah. And so what he cared about, I think, in the past was, I want to be able to have control over this because I want it to actually be good, and I don't want to just sell it to sell it. And I think that's why he got approached by Apple. And I'm excited by Apple because not only have they done incredible work, they love their sci-fi there. They do incredible. I personally, I'm going to sound like a fanboy. I think Apple is probably one of the best streaming services in terms of the quality of their shows.
I agree with you on that.
HBO would be up there, and the only ones I would want to see HBO or Apple when it comes to, but we've seen HBO drop the ball.
They're the premium for sure. HBO and Apple have showed the best content. When Netflix first started streaming, their stuff was good, and then they just kind of went crazy and went for everything. And there's still good stuff on there, but you got to dig through it.
You got to dig. You definitely have to dig.
Yeah.
So the fact that they've got a great track record, I think, was very appealing. And then they're like, yeah, we'll let you be heavily involved with this contractually.
Cool.
So fingers crossed that
I'm going to read up on that to find out how much control he has, because that's really what matters at this point, right? Hopefully there's no clause in the contract that screws him over. Oh, okay. So I'm looking he did a crowdfunding where he raised $42 million for 4 books. That was one. And in total, he's raised over $100 million just for writing his own books. So that's raised for writing them, Plus, then there are the sales of those books. So I mean,
he's doing very well.
The guy's probably like worth $500 million or something crazy, you know, and so he doesn't need money. So yeah, like you said, if he's going to sign one of these things, it's only going to be for that legacy.
Yeah, I think he wants a legacy, and rightfully so. He's made incredible stories and worlds, right?
Yeah,
we'll see how they can be adapted though, because Stormlight in particular is literally a world that is like like not entirely, but it's designed to be like corals, but like on land. The entire ecosystem revolves around a storm that flows through, so you don't have regular trees because the storm would destroy them. There isn't really grass. When you walk over grass, it goes underground and to hide. Like you would, like you see, like
it's gonna be coral, a CGI heavy show.
So I have no idea how they're gonna be able to do that. No idea. Have to
invent some new grass tech, man.
Well, there's also a lot of the early books revolve around this location that is like a plateau where there's nothing on it. So I imagine a lot of the scenes will take place on in that area, right, where there's not a lot of vegetation nearby.
What do they eat? The grass, they can't even eat the grass. It goes underground.
I don't know about their local delicacies.
They don't cover food in the books?
There is food that's covered, but I cannot think of it off the top of my head.
Okay, fair enough. Well, cool. That is exciting because out of all the fantasy that's out there, this is probably some of the biggest in modern novel form. So
it's big.
To get that kind of big pushover, I mean, that means this could be the next Game of Thrones type thing happening.
It could. I'm not going to push it that far because, we've heard that phrase a lot. The next Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Also, it's not, his style is not Game of Thrones. It's not that adult.
Oh, there's not like, gotcha.
There's no nudity. There's no sex. There's even like very, very little swearing, if any.
Okay.
He is. It will not be a Game of Thrones style story.
Well, that's fine. We don't need another Game of Thrones. We just need some other
just need high quality good.
Yeah, quality fantasy, man.
Yeah,
I'm down for it.
Give me that Kaladin. Give me my boy.
Oh man. Speaking of fantasy and sometimes life imitating games or movies, I went on this epic hike this weekend up on top of a rock. I took my kids out and we went up to the top of a rock called Beacon Rock, and it's just like straight up for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And you get up to, and it's like, it's a switchback trail, nowhere else to go other than the trail. Like if you go off the trail, you're falling like 300 feet down. Like it's just straight up. We get to the top. My 5-year-old daughter's like, I gotta pee. I was like, cool. There's like
great.
Tons of people on the trail, nowhere private to go. And then like, I just, in my mind, I cued the Lord of the Rings music, like da na 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 na, and then we had to like adventure to the bathroom. Yeah, that was basically it. She was Gimli and just huffing it down the hill. I was like, we gotta go, people. We made it. It was close, dude. I could tell. She was like, it's gonna be close, Dad. She was telling me. I was like, but we made it, dude. So close.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Did they have a good time other than a potential accident?
Yeah. That's how I get them to go hiking is I'm like, okay, you can pick the hike that we're going to go on. And they always pick the one that's like a rock face overlooking like certain death. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Perfect.
The one where I'm going to be sweating that you guys are going to sprint up it and then like fall off of the trail. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. But that's kids. They gotta do they don't want to do a meadow hike, They don't want to.
Of course.
Nobody wants a meadow. They want sheer cliff faces and epic waterfalls. Which fair enough. That's cool. What are you gonna play tonight? You know yet?
Might finish off Cairn, might play some Battlefield, might play some Half Sword, which is that new janky game that, could be kind of fun to stream. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Delta Force is coming out with their destruction map, I think in a couple of days, basically just being Battlefield.
Everything they do is just such a blatant ripoff. You're just like, just think of your own thing for a change.
Nah, it's no need for that.
No, we're just going to remake Siege of Shanghai. Hey, at least somebody's remaking Siege of Shanghai.
At least someone is, yeah.
God. It's so funny. I honestly can't believe there wasn't any sort of legal issue between how much those games look the same. But anyway.
Not my battle to fight.
It's true. That's true. But probably both kind of same, sort of owned by the same company to a degree.
In ways, yes.
Yeah. Although EA's like sold off. I don't even know who owns it now. But
who knows anymore?
Who knows? Well, cool, man. You want to wrap up the old pod there?
Let's wrap it up.
Well, thank you guys for joining the Level With Me podcast. We post the podcast every day every Wednesday, every day. But no, we post it on Wednesdays. And if you want to support the podcast further and hang out in our live stream while we record it live on Mondays, you can become a Patreon member. Check the Patreon links down below. And after we record it live, we do a little hangout. Talk about life, love, Bridgerton, whatever floats our boats. The good stuff. And regardless, if you're a Patreon member or not, Matt is always going to leave you with some super helpful advice. Take it away, Matt.
So if you ever find yourself climbing a mountain, my advice is to take your time. Breathe. Don't rush. And even when things are looking a little spicy, is to take your time, because that'll get you up that mountain a lot faster than if you try to rush and make mistakes. Fear is the mind killer, as they say, from Dune.
A lot of mixed metaphors there, all right? We're just drawn from all over the place. Fear's the mind killer. I think you should end all of your advice with that.
Just random quotes that could kind of somewhat be portrayed as a piece of advice. Yeah.
Sure. And Matt's really giving you a metaphor for life, right? If life is the mountain.
Take your time.
Don't rush up that mountain. Take your time.
Take your time.
Enjoy
the ride.
Smell the flowers along the side of the mountain that you're climbing.
Yeah.
If they still grow at those altitudes. Well, cool. Thank you guys for dropping by. We appreciate y'all very much. And we'll see you next week. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Take care.